welcome to the Organic MD podcast. My name is Carlisle Koash. I'm here with Dr. Damon Miller, and we are going to do part two of our discussion on D3, which is also kind of talking about the current state of affairs with the virus and all of the adventure and excitement that's happening with that. So we're kind of also exploring the disease that's happening and also how D3 is a great benefit to that, as well as some other things that I'm sure Dr. Miller will suggest. So,
great. Well, hi,
welcome,
Carlisle. I hope you're well today.
I'm holding up. It's a rainy Sunday in Pasadena, but it's nice.
Yeah, it's rainy. I'm in Northern California, and it's nice, nice and rainy up here as well. So, I wanted to, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the way this whole epidemiology and this pandemic is unfolding and where it's likely to go. Not that you're going to hear anything here that you probably haven't heard before, but I'm just struck with a couple of things. One, I'm struck with how much of what's in the news and on the news tends to be sort of soft pedaling a little bit what's going on, trying to make you not feel too panicked and fearful. And that's not a bad thing. You know, we have to wrest the grip of fear from the emotional mind so it doesn't just completely ruin us. But we are dealing here with a disease, this coronavirus, the COVID-19, that has no prophylaxis, meaning there's nothing yet that anybody's found that would keep you from getting the virus. No treatment, meaning the treatments are supportive. If you get a very bad case of it and can't breathe, they can put you on a ventilator. But there's nothing in Western medicine, at least, that really can affect the course of the disease too much. And that part three of this podcast is going to be talking about things that aren't from Western medicine that can be quite effective. But for today, I just wanted very briefly to talk about how this is unfolding. The plan right now is to work us all very slowly towards something called herd immunity. Herd immunity means that eventually there will be so many people who have had the virus, and hopefully this virus acts like other coronaviruses, and at least for a time, it gives you some immunity from getting it again right away. And so because viruses are parasites, if there are no hosts, meaning all the human beings that are around that might possibly harbor the virus have immunity to it, so the virus doesn't have anywhere to go, then the virus kind of peters out in the population. Now that means that there's a good chance that a lot more of us are going to get this. The idea of all this thing with sheltering in place and keeping us away from each other is not to really keep us from getting it forever. It's to try and slow down the pace at which people get it, because when you slow down the pace at which people get it, then you also reduce the number of people who might possibly get a very severe form of it and require hospitalization. And in doing that, you don't overwhelm the healthcare system. People get sick. People get very sick at a rate that's slow enough that we can deal with it with the existing capacity we have in our hospitals and intensive care units. And why am I saying this? Well, the D3, the whole purpose of talking about D3 here is that D3 does things that actually can keep you from getting the virus in a very bad way. One of the things that, the approach that Western medicine takes is to try and find some drug that's going to have the effect you want. But our body has an innate, it's got a built-in immune system that knows how to deal with viruses. It does it all the time. How do you get over a cold? How do you get over the flu? How do you get over any viral infection that you've ever gotten? You get over it because your body has the ability to swallow up the viruses when it sees them. And the cells that eat up the virus, the macrophages and the white blood cells, they can then generate materials that will kill the virus. So our body makes things that would kill the virus. Vitamin D3 binds to those white cells that can kill the virus, induces the production of the proteins and the materials that are going to kill the virus. So if you've got adequate D3 on board, you've got an immune system, you've got macrophages, you've got white cells, white blood cells, neutrophils, and things lymphocytes that can actually deal with the virus if they ever see it. and do their job really extra super special well, so that even if you get exposed to the virus, you might get sick, but you're not going to get a life-threatening illness. And that's really what the game is all about here. Can't do anything to keep you from getting exposed to the virus, to keep you from getting some kind of an infection, some kind of illness, but we can do a lot to keep it from becoming a life-threatening illness that's going to throw you into an intensive care unit on a ventilator. So that's what the D3 is about, and how that works and everything we talked about in part one. But um, the epidemiology here is that we're kind of slowly working our way towards herd immunity, and we're not doing enough. It's going to be the kind of thing where the countries so far that have really managed to get this under control, they've done a total lockdown. We're doing sort of a so-so partial lockdown in this country. Those countries like China, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, they did total shutdown, kind of keep people away from each other until the virus sort of slows down. And then you do this aggressive testing where anybody who gets sick at all, you identify people immediately when they get the virus, you isolate them, quarantine them, you aggressively go find everyone they've come into contact with, test them, quarantine them if need be, and you contain the virus. And that's we're not in any kind of a position to even come close to doing that yet. So maybe in a month we will be. Right now we're recording this. It's just the beginning of April, but there are large parts of this country that aren't really doing much to contain it, and things are getting frighteningly out of hand in those parts of the country. And this has to be a nationwide approach from an epidemiologic standpoint. This has to be a nationwide approach for this to really work. Why am I saying this? This is not anything. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm not trying to be political here. I'm just saying, with the way this is going, this is going to be around for a while. We're going to be dealing with this for a while. And
Well, I mean, like I noticed, for example, I have friends of mine who have said, I've been sick the last couple of weeks, or I feel like I may actually have the virus, but it's pretty mild, either because they're in good health or they're, taking good
right,
care of themselves. And they're not going, well, they've tried to make an attempt to
yeah,
get a test, but they get
exactly.
turned away because, well, you're not sick enough. It's like, well, but wouldn't it be good to know if this person has it? Then that helps them engage with things in a different way. They can maybe make the
Yeah,
assumption that they
well,
are,
and that's what they tell
but
you to do. Just assume you're sick, go home and quarantine. Um, yeah, no, it would be so good. It would be great to know if they had it, and it would be great to know if the people they've been in contact with got it. And we're going to have to get to the point where we do that, or else this is just going to go on, you know, longer than anybody could ever imagine. Yeah, it's we got to get there, but we're not there yet. And so right now we're still in a position where you just got to take care of yourself and your family, and
yeah.
stay healthy, eat well, exercise, take your dose your D3.
Well, yeah, then as we've been talking about, your focus then should be on how to support your overall system so that regardless, even if you do end up getting it, then hopefully you've done enough so your system has a lot of resources to attack it. If you're depleted and I mean, not, hey, who doesn't like, some junk food while you're while you're cooped up at home, but also making sure that your diet's pretty good and doing things like that, because then if you do get that virus, you want your body to really have as many tools as possible to work with it, as opposed to have very little and it then
Right.
could get
Well,
a
I mean,
lot worse.
this is to be honest, this is the case with much of integrative medicine. I mean, there is a world class kind of chemistry out there that knows how to kill viruses, and it only exists in your own body, in your immune system cells, your macrophages and your lymphocytes and your neutrophils. Um, and so I'm just restating what you just said. That system that knows how to take care of these things, you need to keep that running in top form. And the way you do that is you eat well, you don't stress yourself, you don't drink too much, you don't do all the things you might be tempted to do because it's such a miserable, depressing time a lot right now. But just kind of suck it up and take care of yourself. This is, if ever there was a time to do it, now is that time. Yeah.
I had a quick question for those who, because there's the other aspect of this is not only the sickness part, but is also the impact of people being out of work or having to stay home, maybe limited resources, or everything's kind of tightened a little bit. And so it may, the thought of going and trying to buy supplements might be, wow, that might be a little overwhelming, or you might feel like, oh, I don't necessarily have the resources. And are there things that people could do that are that maybe are budget conscious? I mean, I so far I've found like D3 not to be too expensive, so that's good. But any other thoughts
Well,
around that?
if you buy the high strength, the 25,000 international unit per pill D3 that you can find at doseyourd3.com, that's going to cost you about $1 a week to keep yourself tuned up with vitamin D. So that's pretty cheap. The other things, in terms of just being budget conscious, and you know, don't be spending a lot of money on alcohol right now. Alcohol depresses your immune system. Um, don't be and eating well. I guess kind of quit the don't be's thing. Just eating well. Making good choices about the foods you buy. You're going to be buying food anyway,
Sure.
and it doesn't cost any more to eat well than it does to eat poorly. So, that's
For sure.
yeah.
For sure.
So, those are a lot of the choices we make about lifestyle and diet that relate to health. Um, you can do that with the same budget that you would do to eat poorly or overdo it or splurge or over drink, overeat, those kinds of things. So yeah, so that doesn't need to be a drain on your budget, eating well.
Okay.
Okay, and then yeah, so the next part three of this is going to be just the other things you can do, some tricks from medical systems other than allopathic Western medicine. So we'll get that out as quick as we can. But I just want to thank you all, and just really stay healthy, be happy, smile, laugh, tell jokes. Just do what you can to keep your brain intact.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to watch these systems that have already are somewhat in place in terms of just our social networks and internet interconnectivity, but how at least some of those things are stepping up so that we have more. For example, I have friends who we've now several times played virtual games. So it's like we're having a game night, but everyone is in a different location, and so stuff like that. That's really great because then it keeps up the social aspect, even though we're everyone's able to play a game together, but we're in different locations. So the great thing about modern technology. Well, so thank you everybody for listening, and pay attention and wait for part 3. If you have questions or anything, please let us know, and we can incorporate that into these podcasts. So always feel like you can send us a note either through Facebook or even on the podcast
on the
link as well.
The posts for the podcast are on Organic MD. There is a contact us link there. You can find us. Okay, thank you, Carlisle. Be well.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Miller. So stay safe, everybody. Stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.